My Bible says in Habakkuk, for lack of vision, my people perish. Now pause with that for a second. How many of you are leading teams with no vision? You've got KPIs, you've got quarterly targets, you've got a task list a mile long, but you don't have a shared vision. And that's a problem. Because without vision, teams don't perish dramatically. They perish slowly through misalignment and disengagement and missed potential. Coming up next, we're going to unpack what a lack of vision does to your team and how you can turn that around. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Alicia Couri, the CEO of Audacious Concepts, Inc., a boutique leadership advisory firm specializing in helping leaders accelerate their time to impact in their first 90 days in a leadership role and helping their teams become high performing and results driven by improving communication, collaboration, and cooperation. Now back to vision. As leaders, we've been told our job is to cast a vision. And that's true, but that's incomplete. Our real mission is not just to cast the vision, it's to coalesce your team around it because only shared vision creates shared ownership. And that's where results are born. That's where accountability lives. That's where real buy in begins. Not because you forced it, but because they helped build it. There's a lie in leadership that says it's your job to motivate your team to do great work. I'm here to challenge that. The new model of leadership isn't about motivating them. It's about creating a space where they take ownership of the mission because it's also theirs. There's a difference between ownership and obedience. When teams help shape the vision, they own the result. And when people own the result, they hold themselves accountable. You no longer need to manage them into performance. They show up with clarity, alignment, and purpose. According to McKinsey, teams with clarity defined and shared vision are up to 4.5 times more likely to be high performing. That's not just culture, that's ROI. Because when vision is shared, accountability is shared. And when accountability is shared, leadership becomes scalable. I was reading in this book by Cy Wakeman, No Ego, and I've mentioned this book multiple times. It's a really good book. And in chapters 8 and 9, she laid it out very clearly. She says that buy in is a waste of time and stop trying to convince people. Give them clarity and expect greatness. She says that there are only two options on a team. How do you intend to be part of the solution, or what's your plan for exiting? That's it. Because if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the resistance. And there's no space for mutiny on a team striving for greatness. But mutiny doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like silence in meetings or passive resistance. The shadow stakeholder, as we've talked about before, or the same problem resurfacing month after month after month. As leaders, we have to stop negotiating with dysfunction. But here's where it gets deeper. Even if your team is aligned in vision, you also need to align how they work. And that's where tools like the Kolbe A Index that we use with our clients come in. You see, Kolbe doesn't just tell you what people are good at. It reveals how they naturally take action. Some people thrive in fact finding, some in risk and uncertainty. Some need structure while others innovate on the fly. If your vision doesn't account for how your team is wired to move, you're building friction into the system. According to Gallup, only 1 in 3 employees strongly agree that they can do what they do best every day at work. Kolbe helps fix that so that your team isn't just aligned on paper, but it's aligned in performance, in actual performance. So what's the cost of having no shared team vision? What does that really cost to you? And let me be really blunt about this, because the cost is rework, relitigation of decisions, duplicated effort, unclear priorities, and slow decision making, which will lead to team disengagement and talent turnover. Look, you're going to spend thousands on salaries, but without a team vision, you're burning dollars in meetings that go nowhere, projects that stall out, and alignment sessions that don't actually align anyone. And the real tragedy to all this is that it's 100% preventable. Because when teams co create a vision, when they see themselves in that vision, when it aligns to their strengths, you stop managing personalities and you start leading potential. So the question isn't, do we need a team vision? The question is, what's it costing us not to have one? Because your team will follow direction for a season, but they'll follow vision for a mission. The difference is ownership. And that's your job, not to force it, but to facilitate it. Not to inspire people into short-term action, but to align them to long-term momentum. You don't need more offsites. You need shared purpose. You need team clarity. You need a process to get there on purpose. So if you're walking into Q1 without a shared vision, you're walking in blind. But it's not too late. You can bring your team together before the end of the year. You can build a vision that's shared, that's actionable, and aligned to how they actually work. And when you do, you'll get performance, you'll get accountability, you'll get the results that you don't have to push for because your team is pulling in the same direction. And let's make this the year your team stops drifting and starts driving. If you really want to go further with your team this year, reach out to us, audaciousconceptsinc.com, or you can book a no obligation consultation with me. You just go to meetwithalicia.com and I'll be back.